Is she? Okay.
Talking up a storm. You know how women are. Let me turn my phone down. One day I put this on Do Not Disturb for this meeting, and it was 3 days later. And my
Oh, it stayed on all that
so I
time?
wasn't getting any calls. I'm like, "Oh, nobody's calling. This is great." My brother says to me, "What's wrong with your phone?" I go, "What do you mean?" Because I called you.
Yeah.
I know. This has been some good information. Your sermons, and I'm just so delighted. I can get in the car and go, "Oh, I didn't know that." I went to church growing up and everything, but nothing ever really stuck, I guess. A lot of the hymns do, of course, and then sometimes I'll hear a statement or something. Oh yeah, I remember that. But it's been good. Really makes
Good.
me feel good.
Good.
I feel like I'm here for something. Here for a reason.
Hopefully that's what people feel, yeah.
I asked Sandy why she wasn't coming anymore. She said Sandy,
Or her husband.
Oh, she didn't say. She just said she thought something about giving other people time or what was it?
She's told me she had doctor appointments for her husband, and they share a car,
Oh,
so she hasn't been able to get here. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mostly it's my fault, but this time they blocked off the back road.
oh. Oh, really? Was something going on over there?
Pardon me?
Something going on? Why they blocked it off?
Well, they have cones across it.
Oh,
Just can't get through. I don't know what happened. It looks all right, but
That's close to your house?
okay. And we're on the book. I have the book. I left it in the car. Forget it. I did read it though. I'm on chapter 2.5.
Okay.
I don't know. Did you do the whole first chapter?
no.
That's what we're going to do today.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah, I think, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, if we do one chapter per day, we'll get through 4 chapters by Christmas Eve.
We're not going to get through one chapter in one day.
No, if we did, it's going to be a different
It's fine.
strategy.
It's a great book, though.
I always have a question. This time, why do you think that, well, Jesus, I guess, rather than God, made everybody change their name? Simple name like Peter, they changed it to some other name. Why? What's the purpose? What was?
I think this is not just in Christianity, but it's in other religions too. I think it happens in Islam as well. A lot of times, if you have like a life-changing experience, you take on a new name because you are a new person.
Oh, interesting.
So, for example, my brother, growing up, his name was Billy. On his birth certificate, his name's William. So, at some point in his career after college, he started going by William. He started, like, professionally, his business card said William, and any new friends he made or business associates would call him William. His wife started calling him William. I couldn't I couldn't call him that because I called him Billy his whole life.
Right.
But it was kind of like he reached a milestone in his life where he felt like he was a different person than he used to be. So some of it's like that. So.
Did your brothers go into the ministry as well? No? Okay. So that didn't do it.
No, one is a pilot for the Air Force, and the other, he worked in the movie industry, building sets,
Oh,
Okay.
and then now he's like an architect and designer. Yeah, so those are different than ministry.
well, I see.
Whoa.
Well, we've started already. Welcome, Bob and Carol, joining us today, and you all sitting here. I've got a little bit of a head cold going on. I sound a little bit funny, so I'm not going to sing this morning. I'm trying to, if possible, go easy on my voice so it doesn't last too long. Well, why don't we start with a prayer and then we'll jump into our book. God, we thank you for this new opportunity and this new day to study your word and to contemplate your relationship with us. We look forward to something new, and we're grateful for all that you've done for us to this point in our lives. We love you in Jesus' name. We pray, amen.
Thank you.
All right, so let's go ahead and start with chapter 1 of our books. We've gotten through kind of an introduction to let us know what Advent is about. So we're focusing in on, in some ways, what Christmas means to us, but in other ways, it's about the coming of the Messiah. For the last few weeks, we've talked about this is not just about the first Advent, but about the second Advent. And this chapter 1, focuses on the second Advent. And then the next 3 chapters will get into the first Advent. These, in this chapter, we've got 3 primary verses or scriptures that we're looking at. And it's from 3 of the Gospels here, Mark, Matthew, and Luke. This is kind of presented in a way that we believe it's presented in a way where the order is what was likely written first and written second and written third. So most biblical scholars believe that Mark was written first. If you kind of read through the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you'll see Mark is shorter. It's kind of simpler and more to the point. It is, I believe it begins with the ministry of Jesus. It doesn't begin with his birth. We don't see the birth stories until Matthew and Luke. Matthew is where we get the story about Joseph and Mary going to Bethlehem because of Caesar's order for a census. And then you have I'm going to confuse these two. We have Luke as well, and I think it's in Luke where we have the shepherd story, Luke 2. But Mark kind of starts where Jesus' ministry starts. And also interesting is the way the books end. Matthew, I think, ends with the Great Commission, where Jesus sends out his disciples to go preach the gospel to the world. That's after his resurrection and just before his ascension. The book of Mark ends with Mary and some of the other women who were followers of Jesus discovering an empty tomb and running back to tell everybody, and that's kind of it. So Mark kind of leaves with this cliffhanger, whereas Matthew gets into like the Great Commission. So these Gospels are different in a lot of ways. Some of the stuff is shared. So if Mark is written first, this is the idea, because we don't know exactly how these things were written and passed on, but essentially most believe Mark is written first. People are passing around this document that's written, and then they are written to different faith communities, so they're using them in their communities. So, and then we have kind of like a new version or a new copy written in Mark and Luke, and then later on the last one is John. And so they're kind of elaborating on the stories. Sometimes you'll see a little bit of like explanation in parentheses or additional stories in between. So this kind of like the gospel story, it just kind of unfolds. This is such a different culture and time period 2,000 years ago. You know, I mean, we're documenting everything. We could, the way it is now, we could figure out what we were eating for breakfast like a year ago because we took a picture of it. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, what we were doing on the third day of vacation when we went to this place. A lot of times I'll look back on Facebook and like, oh, I forgot I even did that, you know. But when these folks are writing this stuff, most people don't read. Most people don't write, because if you don't read, you don't need to write. So it's only just kind of a handful of educated people that are reading and writing. And fortunately, there were some that decided something really important is happening right now. I should write this down, you know? So that's what happens. We have essentially people writing, taking notes, making copies, passing things on. So these three passages are passages about the second coming. And so what we're going to do is look through them and see how similar or different they are. And so we're going to jump ahead through the first few pages here. These two Greek words that are introduced before these passages are words that are traditionally used to describe the second coming. One is this word, parousia. All right, and this does have to do, similar to Advent, this is like the coming or the arrival. I believe that our author here talks about like this could be like a dignitary or somebody important shows up in town. You know, that's the coming or the appearance of someone. The other word, if we skip ahead here, is this apocalypsis. Apocalypsis. And you probably are familiar with the word apocalypse. There's a movie back in, I don't know, when was Apocalypse Now? Was maybe in the 80s. This movie that's about Vietnam, it has Marlon Brando in it.
Oh, I remember. That was a
dark movie, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like this dark, epic story about something that happened in Vietnam and one of the guys that kind of went crazy or whatever. So the reason they chose that word apocalypse now is apocalypse has been associated with kind of the really dark, scary ending of something. So the apocalypse is like the end of the world, and it's like nuclear holocaust, and it's famine, and it's war, and it's markets crashing, and people starving, and all this kind of stuff. But that's not literally what the word means. What it literally means is an uncovering or a revelation. So the word, the last book of the Bible, Revelation, is also, if you look in some versions of the Bible, it's called Apocalypsis. I think in Spanish it's Apocalypsis. So the revelation is this word like to reveal. So if you reveal something, it's like something is covered and then you reveal it. Think of those. There's probably a name for it. There's this dish covering, like if you have like a turkey or something like that, the cover that goes on top,
yeah.
this half dome shaped thing. Well, at some point before the meal, it will be revealed, what the turkey looks like and smells like and whatever. So it's this revelation or uncovering. So it's covered and now it's uncovered. It was hidden before and now you can see it, right? So that's where the word apocalypse comes from. So I think it's in the first sentence of the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation is about the revealing of who Jesus is. That's what it is. Usually what we think about with the book of Revelation is the other type of apocalypse. It's the sky is falling and it's dark and everybody's dying and all that kind of thing. But it literally means the uncovering. So we've got these two things. We've got the arrival, where we have the uncovering. Those are the two things. That's what Advent is about. So we were kind of in the dark before. We didn't know who Jesus was or what God was up to, and now we know. That's what Advent is about. So we can take that and say, I hope that we get an experience like that during this season where I learn something new. I see something I didn't see before, that kind of thing. All right. See how fast we're going through this book here? It's coming. Here we go. Okay. The first passage that we're going to look at is Mark 13, verses 24 through 37. We're actually going to read some scripture in Bible study, which we don't always get a chance to do. And pardon my, I use Bible Gateway, and I used to be able to do it without the ads. I could block the ads, but now for some reason I can't block the ads anymore. So anyway, we will put up with it. All right, so this is what we're going to read here. But in those days after that suffering, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will be falling from heaven, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory, and he will send out the angels and gather the elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of the heaven. See, there's more ads popping up here. From the fig tree, learn its lesson. As soon as its branch becomes tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So also, when you see these things taking place, you know that he is near, at the very gates. Truly, I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have taken place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. But about that day or hour no one knows, neither the angels in heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. Beware, keep alert, for you do not know when the time will come. It's like a man going on a journey when he leaves home and puts his slaves in charge. each with his work, and commands the doorkeeper to be on the watch. Therefore keep awake, for you do not know when the master of the house will come, in the evening, or at midday, or at the cockcrow, or at the dawn, or else he may find you asleep when he comes suddenly. And what I say to you, I say to all, keep awake. What's your first impression of these words?
I love in the beginning where it says how Jesus is gonna come and how we don't know, so we have to keep awake. And I take it as just how he said, I don't want to make God mad at me, you know, for doing things I'm not, and I know I'm not supposed to do them, you know, so it's kind of like that. It's kind of like always being aware of what God wants from us and how we're supposed to follow Jesus, because we don't know.
No matter how much you think you're waiting or aware, it's going to be a shock.
Oh, yes.
Look at it.
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of look forward to something. You know, like, okay, so why am I staying awake?
Oh, uh-huh.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
kind of scary, actually.
Yeah, kind of scary. This particular one.
Yeah.
This passage is pretty poetic. These words here, they don't seem to match so much all the other types of teachings or statements that Jesus makes. This kind of comes across a little bit different. And yeah, just like studying poetry, it's kind of like there's a lot of stuff going on here. We have these signs that are taking place kind of in nature, with the sun being dark and the moon not giving its light. It's almost like I think our book talked about these things that we were so used to, they may not, it might not work that way anymore. Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking about it this morning, but I was thinking, you know, how much we kind of take our routines for granted and our relationships for granted. Once we kind of have established them, we're just used to, this is the way life is. I get up at this time, I'm in this place, I'm with this person, and we do all this thing, and it feels like after doing it long enough, in our minds, it feels like this is just the way it is forever, you know? And one of the things that this passage is telling us is that these things that we were so used to, the sun and the moon and the stars, I mean, how many times have the only reason you can't see them is because of the clouds, but we know they're always there. And so it's kind of like, maybe Jesus is saying, this change that I'm bringing about will make even the things you can count on the most, you're not going to count on them anymore. You know, so that is, you know, big change, unexpected. That can be scary, like you said. You know, it's scary to think about, well, what if I'm living my life without this person, without this location that I live, without all the things that I'm used to, you know? So, so there's that. Some of this second part here about the fig tree, it gives us this sense that we will kind of know when things are coming, but then he turns around and says, but you won't. So I'm not sure. Maybe there are going to be reminders to us that there is this great change at the end of all this. This is in other passages too about not knowing the time.
If you're a pessimist, you'd be afraid. If you're an optimist, you're looking forward to.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't
Just
scare me
like
very
it is for change in life, you know? If somebody tells you, you know, if you go to a Chinese restaurant and you open your fortune cookie and it says a great change is around the corner, one person can be like, yes, and the other person can be like, no.
I already know, so
Right.
I'm not afraid.
We have a fun. My wife always makes fun of me because I tell these stories that happened and I leave something out or I tell it wrong. But so I'm going to tell it wrong. But we were at a Chinese restaurant. This is shortly before we moved here to Florida, so we knew we were moving, and we just happened to be going out to eat, and we opened our fortune cookies at the end, and both Ian and Sully opened theirs first, and they had this kind of new beginning statements in there. You know, you're going to have a new, I think maybe she got like a new career or something like that, you know, and then it got to me, and mine says, "You'll find a new love in your life."
Oops.
And Sully used to love fortune cookies, and she would hold on to them, the little message, and after that, she's like, doesn't want to have anything to do with them anymore.
Just real quick, my dad, every time he opened one, my mother would say, "What does it say?" And he says, "Help, I'm a prisoner in a Chinese cookie factory."
That's funny.
Years.
Funny. All right, so this last one, kind of as Joy mentioned, you have somebody in authority going away and leaving the help in charge. And it's essentially saying, we are the help in charge, so we need to make sure we're doing the work that we're supposed to do because we don't know when the master is coming home again, you know? We could maybe have that experience with our parents. The parents leave the house and like, you need to do these things before I get back, and then
They come back early and you're in
and then they
trouble.
come back early and you're like, I was just getting ready to.
Right.
I mentioned on Sunday, one of the ways to stay ready is to always try to take the high road. And it's just a good habit to put ourselves into. Anytime that we stop, we start cutting short on that and we start taking the low road, you know, and it happens all the time. You know, I have said things before, and it's like I knew before I said it, I shouldn't say this, but I said it anyway. It wasn't taking the high road. There was something that happened recently for that. But anyway, it's always better to take the high road just because, I mean, that's kind of what we're encouraged to do always because our life is going to be better. So, all right, so let us go back to the book here. We see that in this passage, Jesus is coming after these dark things are happening. So that is one thing that we have, when we take these different stories about the second coming, oftentimes it is it goes along with life being tough. We don't know, honestly, we don't know the way that things are being described at the end of days. Are these abnormally bad, these days just before Jesus comes? Or is it just describing the way things always have been? So I think it might be in Revelation it talks about famines and wars and rumors of wars and that kind of thing. When did we not have that? When did we not have famines? When did we not have wars? When did we not have rumors of war? That's always the way it is. So if Jesus is coming after that, it's these passages are holding these two things side by side so that you can see this is the way life has been for us. But when Jesus comes, he's bringing us into a better day. And it doesn't necessarily have to get like so much worse for us to appreciate where Jesus is taking us. All right. This is an interesting question here. Part of Advent involves reflecting on what you're hoping for. What do you expect God to do? So, we might focus on our readiness or our awakeness. We might focus on our part. Jesus put us in charge. He's leaving and then he's gonna come back. So we can focus on our work and our part, but maybe that's not what's important, because once Jesus comes back, does it really matter? What great thing did we accomplish along the way? You know what I mean? We stayed awake and we stayed ready, but we didn't change reality into this great
How
thing.
would you have thought? Would you rather be in heaven, having died and gone to heaven, before he comes or after he comes? When you're in heaven or when you're here, are you sure you want to be here when he comes?
Right.
Think about that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
No, a lot of people have thought about that. There's the church that I grew up in, the way they answered that is they said they believe that when a person dies, they go to sleep. And so people don't go to heaven when they die. They just stay asleep. And then when Jesus comes, everybody wakes up at the same time. That's a different perception or that's a different theory of reality after death than a lot of other churches. Baptist, Catholic, as soon as you die, you go straight.
Yeah, we got the twinkling of an eye bit, yeah.
Yeah, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. That's the text that's used for that. If we think about what we know of the way God operates, is one or the other more close to what's important or closer to reality,
When I explain it, I always say there's two different ways of looking at it. Asleep in Christ. And then I think about it and I'm like, well, when you're asleep, you really don't know what's happening anyway because you're asleep. So if you sleep until Jesus comes,
right?
For me, it's not an issue. It's like, okay, either I'm sleeping or I go right to heaven, or I wake up and I go right to heaven.
Yep.
So that's the way I look at it.
I've heard it described. I've heard the experience of anesthesia being described in ways that are a little different than falling asleep at night. From what people have told me, if they go under anesthesia, they do the countdown from 10, 9, and then usually people are gone, right? And then you just wake right up, and it's almost like this chunk of time just never happened.
Exactly.
So that's the way it's described according to the Adventist. The pastor that we used to have in Atlanta used to say there's so many different theories of how God is going to wrap everything up and what paradise is like. He says, if God comes and takes us out in a bathtub, what's the difference? You know what I mean? If it's coming in the clouds, if you go straight when you die, I mean, whatever the in-between stuff is, once you're in eternity, how you got there doesn't really matter. Once you're in eternity, it doesn't, it doesn't
In your
matter.
line of work, have you spoken to anybody who said they've died and they remember anything, not really died, but thought they'd died, let's put it that way?
Jay, who comes here to Bible study sometimes, he hasn't been here
yeah.
in a little while, he has had, I think, 2 near-death experiences. And he described his experience as going to be close to God and then seeing, he said he saw all the different ways that his interactions with people on earth impacted them during his life. And he was given the choice to stay in heaven or to go back and maybe make amends or make some changes. And he says he chose to come back
Wow.
because there were things that he had done that he didn't realize the impact that they had, and he wanted to make it right. So I've heard other people describe it that way. Suli did have something like a near death, kind of an out of body experience when she was younger. And she says she could see herself, and she had, I think she was like donating blood and passed out. So she could see herself in this chair, and then she said she went back into her body. She kind of like, almost like putting on clothes or something. And she said it wasn't a pleasant experience because she felt so free. And then when she went back in the body, it felt like heavy. So, there are a lot of books written about people that have had these experiences. There's a pretty broad variety of what people describe the next life is like. Some people said I went to heaven. Some people said I went to hell. So most people, I would say most people come back saying there's something good waiting, so that they have a peace about it. That's one. The other is some kind of a reflection on their life, and being able to see their life kind of in a big, you hear the phrase "seeing your life flash before your eyes," that kind of thing.
And they come back and they're completely changed. Completely.
Yeah, and they have a
Ooh.
different motivation and a different perspective on things. They're a new person. As I was transitioning from my Adventist upbringing into this new thing, that's one of the things that I had to wrestle with, because I didn't, if you go to an Adventist funeral, people are not talking about, oh, they're with grandma now, because they're just asleep. So the message is, they're resting and at peace, and one day we'll all be joined again. But it's not happening now. I've kind of wondered, so if people go straight to heaven, what's the point of the second coming anyway? If we're all eventually going to die and go there, why does there need to be
To get
maybe
it over
just
with quick.
to stop to
Yes.
stop the earth from doing its thing? So
Yeah, it must have been, I've never had a religious upbringing, so I didn't learn stuff. So there was nothing I had to relearn or
Yeah.
unlearn.
Right.
It was just, there it was.
right.
I think it's a lot easier that way.
Yeah.
Maybe. Not as deep, but easier.
This passage here, Matthew 24, this is the passage that we had, or at least a portion of it, that we had for Sunday. I think because of time, I'll just kind of skim through this. Okay, this is a little bit different, actually. So, this is Matthew 25. I think maybe I have the wrong passage. That's what it is. Let me go back here, not make you guys dizzy. 24, 29, not 25. Let's close that.
Isn't it funny, you know right away when you hit the wrong one, you're like, oops.
29 through
44.
44? Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so here again in Matthew, we have the sun going dark, the moon and stars. The tribes of the earth will mourn. He'll send out his angels with a trumpet. We have the fig tree again. The day or hour no one knows. So a lot of this is very similar. Now we have the part of Noah saying, like, just as in the days of Noah, they were going about their thing and then suddenly the flood came. That's how the second coming will be. Or this is the thief in the night comes up here a little bit later. Thief in the night coming. And then kind of skipped over this passage. We have the two women in the field. One is taken and one is left. That's a passage that we didn't touch on that much. So this adds a little bit more. This adds the Noah part. This passage of 41, this is used, oftentimes you'll see this passage being brought up for somebody who emphasizes a rapture experience at the second coming. I mentioned on Sunday, this is an idea that came up in the early 1800s, 1830s. Darby is the name of the theologian, and then the Scofield Bible is something that incorporated it. It was basically a study Bible that incorporated it into the notes on the sides. And this idea of rapture is when things get really bad at the end, Jesus is going to take the chosen ones out of the world so they don't have to go through the rapture. Others say we're going to go through it, but not all the way through it, and others say we're going to go all the way to the end. And that really, the differences in perspective on what's going to happen at the end of time probably is tied to the way people believe God works with us going through hard times in our life period. So is God going to help you to avoid going through a hard time? Is God going to let you go through some of it and then come in and rescue you? Or is God going to let you go all the way through it to the very end and then you'll have a resolution? So
That's interesting.
that's when I've looked at it, why would God have a certain pattern of relating to us in terms of our troubles in life? Now, there are some, like we will say, sometimes somebody will come into like a church gathering and say, I want to give a thank you to God for saving us because we were on the freeway and this thing happened and we avoided the crash. So we'll say that's God at work because God helped us to avoid the crash, you know? And then there are other people that will come in and say, I want to give thanks to God because I had a really tough couple years, but God has brought some relief to me or whatever. Others can be like, I want to give thanks to God because I've had a very long period of time that I've been in turmoil, but I'm okay now. So I guess we can see God in all types of things, you know? If you do get into a crash and you don't avoid the crash, does that mean God doesn't care about you anymore? Or, you know, so a lot of that has to do with how we believe God relates to us with good stuff. Why does there need to be really bad stuff happening before Jesus comes back? Like, what's the point of that? Some would say, you know that phrase, to give somebody enough rope that they can hang themselves? So this is God giving us enough freedom of choice to do whatever we want, and then when we finally realize we're horrible at the choices that we make, God will come in and rescue us. You know, is that the way God works, or not? So a lot of that, I think, is coming through in these concepts of how the world kind of comes to a conclusion. All right, so no one knows the timing. It's unpredictable. That's something that all these passages have said so far. And then we'll go to our last passage here, Luke.
But Matthew, Mark, and Luke are so much alike. They're,
In a lot of ways.
yeah.
Yeah. So we have the sun, moon, and stars. We have the foreboding. We have the Son of Man coming in a cloud. We have the fig tree. And then there is this be on guard. That's like stay awake, be ready. Don't let your hearts get weighed down with dissipation and drunkenness and the worries of life. All right? So that the day doesn't catch you unexpectedly like a trap. So some of this is because, think about this. Think about, like, from a parent's perspective. If you leave your kids by themselves and you tell them before you leave, I want you to do these things while I'm gone, right? Sometimes it's not the end of the world if they don't do the stuff. You're really just giving them an opportunity to take some independence and some responsibility on their own, and to, like, get the joy of hard work and mission accomplished, you know? So maybe that's what some of this is. Maybe some of this is be ready means, like, stay at work. Keep doing the thing that is going to give you the best experience in life. It's going to not only help you, but help the people around you. This is taking the high road. This is the right thing to do, to stay at work. If we are going to get overwhelmed by life and then start to do these different things to try to escape life, we can end up finding ourselves, like it says, in a trap. You know? We can get to the place where we're just not taking the high road and we're just trying to avoid things and just somehow thinking life is going to get better if we don't do anything. like what is that? Like, oh, well, maybe if I don't get out of bed, life will be better or something like that. You know what I mean? So some of this is just, like, it's Jesus saying, I'm going to make everything right in the end. That's what this is about. I created all this. I'm going to bring it all to this great conclusion. But just because I'm going to bring it to a great conclusion doesn't mean you just sit on your butt the whole time. That's not what this is about. What it's about is you staying busy, staying awake, engaging in life, learning the lessons of life, connecting with God and one another in life, and then the second coming will be like this great culmination of all this great stuff that's been happening during your life. We have these conversations about, like, if a person decides at the very end of their life, you know, they didn't really do the right thing, they were selfish, they just partied all the time and they weren't responsible and all that, and then at the very end of life they're like, oh God, come into my heart. And is that person going to go they're going to go live in the same paradise as you, right? So there's That's the same, this is the same story as the one Jesus tells about the workers that go out in the field. One set of workers goes out and they work the entire day and they get paid a day's wage. Other workers, they come in at 4 p.m. in the afternoon and they work for an hour and they get a day's wage. Like, is that fair? So we use that in the whole example of, like, what, you know, should we waste our time being responsible our whole lives when we could just party the whole time and then at the last second we can just squeeze in the door, right? But here's the thing. Let's be really, really honest. Living a party life is fun, and then also it's really not. Because the party's fun, the hangover's not. You know? All the crazy things you did is fun, but the way that you hurt people and have to deal with that the next day is not. Mm-hmm. So if you decide to live an irresponsible life, it's not a good life. It's not a happy life. Maybe it's the grass is greener where we say, look at that party animal over there. They're just like, they're not really that responsible, and it's just like easygoing, and they're just seem to. I don't really believe that you can live that way and be completely fulfilled. I think you're fulfilled when you're working hard and you're being responsible and you're having fun and you're loving one another and you're taking risks, and you know, you want to live life up and do it well. You don't want to try to cut corners because it's not going to be enjoyable. So I don't want to be the person that lives maybe a fun but also very miserable life and at the last minute get into heaven. And if you think about it, that person's probably not going to be real comfortable in heaven. because heaven is just an improved version of the way life is, you know? Mm-hmm. And heaven is not sitting on the beach, sipping on Mai Tais, getting sunburns and massages, and doing nothing. I mean, it can be nice to have that, but do you want to live that way your whole life? Like, so paradise is not this idea, you know, this idea gets advertised for go on a cruise, go on vacation. It's always like get off to a tropical place and all that. After a while, that stuff gets old and boring, and it's like it's not fulfilling. And the reason we want it so much is probably because our work and play balance has been off, and we've just been working too hard, so we have to play real hard, you know? But I think when we look at this second coming, it should be this culmination of things. And the people that there are described here are some people that are not excited about the second coming. But the reason is because they've been out of tune with God the whole time. So it says, like, I think it was the Matthew text talking about the nations were afraid. So anyway, a lot, all of this focus on the second coming, I guess kind of probably one of the reasons the author of the book is having us do this first is that we're looking at where we're headed. We're looking at the ultimate goal. And the first advent of the Christ child in the manger is just the starting point to get us on this journey of having this great life culminating in the second coming. And sometimes we find ourselves in that We find ourselves working alongside with God. Life can be challenging, but is also fulfilling and meaningful. And it's this beautiful, mix of kind of the way that God intended life to be. Other times when we go through life, it's like we don't like it. We're hurt or disappointed or angry or whatever, and we are we're not in the flow. We're hiding, or we're fighting, or but that's part of it too. John of the Cross is one of the first Christian theologians, I think, from like the 300s or something like that. And I think it's from him that this term, the dark night of the soul, comes. The dark night of the soul is like a Job type of an experience. And it's where we feel like Jesus did on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me? Or feeling like very dry or bored in our spiritual life. And that's a part of it. That's what John of the Cross says, this is a part of it. It's okay to have it. It's normal. We all go through this. And maybe this is something that you need to go through in order to have some kind of a breakthrough to get to what's next. Because and this was the whole point that the accuser in the book of Job makes. The whole point that the accuser makes is a valid point. And it is, if you're just going to have God's blessings all the time and never go through anything tough, of course you're going to have faith. Of course you're going to have faith. And that's the downside of the prosperity gospel, or the gospel that focuses on, if you're in a good relationship with God, then good things will happen to you, right? So, yes, there's truth to it. What we sow, we reap. So if we sow good things, we'll reap good things. Life can be great. You can have blessings. You can be blessed. You can be fortunate, and all those kind of things. But also in life, your life can fall apart. And it can be not because of anything you did, or because of anything that God did to you, or because of anything that anybody else did to you. It just happens sometimes. Sometimes you get sick. Sometimes you get depressed. Sometimes the Great Depression, everybody collectively goes through hard times. So that can happen as well. Look at when you look at the life of the disciples, would you say, whoa, those are some prosperous people? They had a good life, and they're inspirational people, but they weren't like rich, and they didn't have everybody waiting on them, and they weren't living the high life, so to speak, but they lived the same type of life Jesus did, so that must be worthwhile, So when we think of the culmination of things, a lot of things in between here and there can come on the scene. It can be some blessings, and it can be some challenges. That's the nature of it.
That's how I feel about life. You go through it, and there's all these terrible things happening, and then you get blessings thrown in.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do this. This
Yeah.
was really bad, but this is really good.
Right.
And I think that's just life,
Mm-hmm. Yep. The 12 steps that we've talked about, and we spent a couple years on in that one book, along with the 12 steps, we say the Serenity Prayer a lot. And this is the idea of acceptance. And I think the word acceptance is probably the closest to faith, where it is, because acceptance is trust. Acceptance is life has blessings and life has really hard times, and I accept both.
I think
Right.
the 12 steps really helped my Timothy before he died. A great deal. brought him to God, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
Yeah.
Anyway. And I just talked to Michael my grades, I told you I went out and talked.
Oh, yeah. How did it go?
I'll try to make it very briefly. He was taken out of school in 10th or 11th grade and put into Catholic school because his parents, he was doing well in school, but his parents thought he wasn't doing up to his capability. So he spent, and then his final year of school, he said, I wasn't happy there because everybody else grew up together and I was the oddball.
Right.
Very unhappy. So he said, I want to go back to my regular school and graduate with the kids I knew. He did do that, and that was fine. And I said, well, what are you? He said, I'm agnostic. I said, why? Why do you say that? He said, because what I need is proof. That's the total reason for it. Otherwise, you know, I hear, I know, I understand, but I have to have proof because I'm such a scientist. So we didn't get too far. But we're still working on it anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The fact that we're here is pretty strong proof.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of all these things. to
Yeah, yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of take reality for granted. We kind of take life for granted, you know? It didn't have to be that way.
I know.
I mean, it could be that we didn't even exist.
I think he learned it a lot in Catholic school anyway,
Yeah,
so it was okay.
yeah.
Does he have children, or is he?
Pardon me?
Does he have children, or is he
Yes,
young?
he has a boy and a girl. She's 10, he's
Huh.
8.
Oh,
And he's the housekeeper. He's
Okay.
home, his wife works, yeah.
yeah.
He's not made a lot of money, doesn't have to work, so. But he is wonderful with the children. They do everything. But we look for the stars. I'm pushing her to be an astronaut, so we're working on
Oh,
that.
I love that.
Gave it the telescope, and she still works on it every night. One night we saw 3 stars, other than other
Yeah.
clouds.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But I said that because usually when a baby is born, and you see that baby, you're
Right.
like, oops, there's God.
Right,
You
right.
know? Yeah.
well, I tried to say that the last time I saw him, and I said, but you know, what about babies? What about children God has given you? He said, no, me. So we
Oh. Me.
dropped that right away.
Good for you.
Anyway,
Wow.
we're working on it.
Okay, yeah. We just plant seeds. We can't hit anybody over the head. We're just seed
No,
planters.
and you know, he's great about interested in talking about it.
That's fantastic.
He's not pushing me away at all.
That's
fine.
great, because you're easy when you talk about it.
Well, he and I
Yeah.
are so close.
Yeah,
Very,
I
very
love that.
close, so it's okay.
I think a lot of times when people reject the idea of God, they're rejecting the stories that have been told about God. They're rejecting the perception that's been shared with them of what God is like. And oftentimes the perception that's been shared with people is not accurate, you know? And then you can hear the same, with enough time exposed to religious perspectives of who God is, you can hear the same bad theology over and over and over and over again for a long period of time. And if you say, I reject that, you actually might be right, that God's not that way. So, yeah, I think oftentimes it's a rejection of what we have shared, and it's not good enough. It's not good enough. But that's the thing about God is like I can do my very best to describe to you the way God is. The reality of how close is my description of God to the reality of God, I'm not even close. I'm a little speck, and maybe I don't know how much I'm right or not. I don't know, am I 10% right? Am I 50% right? But there's part of me that believes in something that's bigger than the description. And that's what I believe in. I don't believe in my own description of God because I know that it's like it falls short. If I, as a pastor, am telling people, you need to believe in my description of God because that's it, that's the final word, then I'm making myself God. And I'm making my own description God. And Jesus talks about that and says to the religious teachers, it's like you stand at the door of the kingdom and you block the doorway. It's like you're keeping people out of their relationship with God because you're insisting that they believe in you or your description. And that's never what it's about.
It's like people say we all believe in the same God, and I'll be like, well, tell me about your God.
Yeah, they can be very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can be very different.
No matter how much you believe and preach and know, everybody has some questions.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
You know, I bet you even have a few.
Sure.
It's normal to do that.
I'm working on a sermon that's like,
Sure.
do you know Jesus or do you know about Jesus?
Yeah.
Is he like Santa Claus in the sky or the boogeyman under your bed? You know? And how to be Jesus' best friend and talk to him. Because they said they're losing the college kids because they don't know Jesus. They just know the story. They don't have a relationship. It's
Right.
quite interesting. Yeah.
All right, well, why don't we wrap up with a prayer today? God, we're grateful for this time together and for everyone here. Be with us as we go through the rest of this day and week. Help us to accomplish what you have set in line for us. Help us to learn something new. Thank you for being with us. We pray in your name. Amen.